Liss, and the name of the program is The Way to Go. I invite you to join me each week at this time as we explore places to go and things to do. Got a very, very interesting exploration today. There is a group called the Historic River Towns of Westchester. And if you haven't heard about it, you're going to hear a lot about it. And we're fortunate to have with us today two guests who really know this subject very well. Mayor Eileen Pilla of Tarrytown and McKeldin Smith of historic Hudson Valley. And I'm so glad you both could join us and bring us up to date on what's happening on the Hudson River. So let's get right into this. What is this organization called Historic River Towns of Westchester?
Well, what I believe happened and how it evolved was that several people at the Westchester, one person in particular, Larry Dwyer at the Westchester County Association, in connection with Historic Hudson Valley, met and talked about finding some way to take advantage of all the tourist spots that we have on the Hudson River. They also met with Mayor Bob Elliott of Croton, and that's how the intermunicipal agreement, which formed our consortium, came together.
And you roll, what, 10 different?
And there are 10 different communities, and from Peekskill to Hastings. And Tarrytown is right in the middle of that.
The glue that holds it all together is this wonderful thing called the Hudson River.
That's right.
And the Hudson River is such a marvelous place. It's there because it's beautiful, it's scenic, and I guess the towns and villages all sprung up on the Hudson because of what it has. So
that's right.
One feeds off into the other. And of course, the renaming of historic Hudson Valley, that used to be called what?
Sleepy Hollow Restorations.
And a few years ago, it was changed.
In the late 1980s, it changed its name because we acquired a property farther up the river, and so we were no longer technically just Sleepy Hollow Restorations. And our mission expanded to include other things on the river besides simply the operation of historic properties.
And what does it include?
The sites?
Yeah.
There are 6 sites in the network, and we call ourselves a network because we're trying to be a collection that's greater than the sum of the parts, to coin a phrase. Yeah. I guess in geographical order, they include Sunnyside, the home of Washington Irving in Tarrytown, Phillipsburg Manor, which is a working 18th century farm and water-powered gristmill in North Tarrytown, the Union Church of Pecanico Hills, also in North Tarrytown, which contains the stained glass windows by Matisse and Chagall, and of course Kikett, the Rockefeller estate, which is the hottest tourist attraction, I guess, in 3 states. Then Cortlandt Manor is located in another one of the historic river towns of Westchester, Croton-on-Hudson, and farther up the river we operate Montgomery Place, which is an historic estate in northern Dutchess County.
Well, I have to admit I've been to all of them, and they are unbelievably superb, and maybe we'll get into a little more of that later on.
But Norman, while I'm chronicling properties along the Hudson River, I think it's important to note that it's not just the properties of historic Hudson Valley that are historic sites. Of course, Lyndhurst is a property of the National Trust located in Tarrytown, and it's a very important site. And I mentioned Kikett when I was talking about the historic Hudson Valley, but of course Kikett is a property of the National Trust. So we're operating it, but we don't own it. And we're all in this together, all the historic properties, forming one network of historic properties.
Excuse me, I think it's interesting to note and let the people at home watching. I was in Virginia this year on a vacation visiting the home of Monroe and Madison. And listed on the brochure were about 18 national trusts. And 2 of them were in the Tarrytowns. One, as we just said, Lyndhurst, the other one, Kikett. So when you look at it from that perspective, we really have something in every area, in every community that I think the people, even here in Westchester County, are not aware of. And that's one of the reasons for forming this consortium.
That's what I was going to say. I think I know this area very, very well. The towns themselves, they all lend themselves so well. They're small main streets, they're small towns, they have museums, they have antiques, they have shopping. It seems such a natural. I'm surprised it didn't happen before.
Well, I think we looked at our waterfront more as an industrial area. And about the last 15 years, we've had the local waterfront revitalization programs going on. Tarrytown was one of the first communities to get involved in that. All other communities along the Hudson River have done it at this point. So we now are looking towards economic development in the tourism area. And I think the opening of Kaikit was the catalyst for that. I think we said, my God, we aren't really taking advantage of all the things that we have in our area, including our beautiful Hudson River. Not just the sites that are on it, but just the river itself.
And so much history, too, isn't
That's
there?
right.
There's so much great history, and we in the United States have a tendency to tear down a lot of our history. I know we go to Europe to see all the historic places, but a lot of places don't last more than 15 to 20 years. If it's 50 years, it's a long time. We tear it down. And so many things are here that are out of the past. So much of the history of America is right here in this area.
Well, when you consider it was the 1600s when Tarrytown, North Tarrytown, and Phillipsburg Manor was begun. But I think the other thing is we have to remember that we have main streets in most of these communities from Peekskill to Hastings. And if you go throughout America, I think you'll find that Main Street is no longer there. These malls and that type of thing has really changed the landscape as far as that's concerned. You can come to Irvington, you can come to Dobbs Ferry, you can come to Ossining and to other areas. And our main streets, most of them overlook the Hudson River. So it is a panoramic view from that perspective. And it also gives you that hometown, little town feeling, which is what we preserved in our Hudson River communities.
One of the things that you did this summer, which was very impressive, was the trolley. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? I'm sure you're going to do it again next year.
Well, we're very grateful in the Tarrytowns in Irvington that our consortium allowed our area to be the experiment area for the trolleys. They were very successful. For a quarter, you could ride from the Irvington Railroad Station and through properties and drop people off at the sites and get all the way through to North Tarrytown at Phillipsburg Manor. And many people, not only tourists from outside the area, but many of our local residents hadn't been on the grounds of Lyndhurst and took that opportunity to go there to Sunnyside, to Phillipsburg Manor. So it was a wonderful opportunity. People are still asking me, is it running? I'm saying, unfortunately, we only had the funding to run it until Labor Day. That's one of our goals.
So you lay down the tracks and the overhead cable.
No, rubber tires, I'm afraid. But the atmosphere was there. People loved it. They truly enjoyed it. And we had volunteers from the Irvingtons and the Tarrytown that were riding on as tour guides. They loved it. They had a wonderful time, a wonderful experience. First of all, they met a lot of people, and then they were able to talk about their community. Many of them had born and raised in our area, so they had a lot to share.
It is a great area. One of the advantages of Tarrytown, I don't want to dwell on Tarrytown, although you are here, is there are so many places where you can see the bridge.
That's right. That's right.
The bridge sets the tone so well for where it is. But tourism has always been something. Certainly the things that you've been doing over the years has been very, very strong in having national attention for tourism. And it does provide the nucleus, really, for everything that expands out of there into this whole historic river towns concept, doesn't it?
Well, the point you made about going to Europe and the point you made about the local people in the Tarrytowns and the historic river towns of Westchester getting on the trolley and experiencing it themselves brings to mind something that's very astonishing to me, having recently moved into the historic river towns, and that is these places are famous internationally, and yet so many people right here in Westchester have never been to them. And I bet you there are a lot of people watching the program right now who have never been to Sunnyside, who have never been to Lyndhurst, who have never been to Phillipsburg Manor, and that's a shame. And I hope that the establishment of the historic river towns of Westchester is going to do something to make people aware of the cultural resources that are in their backyard. And it's just a great day trip to take yourself or your spouse or your family or your house guests, take them across the county or up the river to see some of these places that people are coming, especially now that Kiket's open, literally from around the world to see. It's only 10 minutes from the farthest point in Westchester County, practically, to any of the historic river towns of Westchester.
It's interesting. I often ask this question to New Yorkers: have you ever been to the top of the Empire State Building? And very, very few people have. It's too close. Now, I traveled to California this summer to San Simeon to see the Hearst Castle. I went. That was my main objective. The rest of the trip was built around that. I said I definitely want to see it. People are doing the same thing, I think, with Kiket. Are coming here.
That's right, and that's why historic river towns of Westchester and the materials that have been produced, that's why they exist. They exist as a service to visitors, not just to create awareness of the fun things and the good things that you can do in the historic river towns, but to make people aware that it's not just Sunnyside, or it's not just Kiket, or it's not just Van Cortlandt Manor. It's this very deep, rich network of things to do and visitor services that makes the place
accessible
significant.
by car, by boat, and we can talk a little bit about that. It's by train. The accessibility, I think, is marvelous.
Well, it's tri-state. When you talk about Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey, then you can also figure Long Island is a tri-county. But our reason for forming together is because you have to allow and give people a destination. And within that destination, there has to be a lot of things to do. If you are going to come for the weekend and stay at one of the local hotels and you have a father and a mother and 2 or 3 children, you have to have a group of a variety of things for them to do.
Certainly.
Well, you can do all of these wonderful historical things, but you've got a couple of kids and they want to run around and do something, and there's stuff in Westchester County they can do. Also, just taking them for a ride on the Hudson River, it breaks the monotony, but it also gives them parents an opportunity to sit down and enjoy what's going on around them too.
Let's talk about some of the things that you're doing in order to interest people in what you're doing. First of all, you've come up with this very, very interesting brochure, and this is, of course, is available to people. And we're going to look inside this brochure in just a minute, but it's quite an undertaking, and I understand it's got an awful lot of praise for what you've done on this. It's very, very, very thorough. It's got a wonderful picture on the front, lots of pictures inside, and it gives an awful lot of information about what's inside the brochure, the various places that people can go.
And restaurants and antique shops and all of that sort of thing is included in that brochure, from Peekskill to Hastings, not just in my small community or in North Tarrytown or Irvington.
I do want to show what is inside. We've got this rather large blow-up, which I'm going to hide behind, which is a map of the area that you cover. And this is very, very impressive. This is the inside of the brochure. It's very, very impressive. It's a very good map, by the way. Just talk a little bit about what it shows on there.
Okay, well, why don't you start, McKeldin, for what you have in...
From the bottom to the top?
Well, first of all, as you pointed out at the beginning of the program, Norman, the key unifying element of the map is, of course, the Hudson River, which is the reason why all these places are what they are. And all of the historic river towns of Westchester that are part of the consortium are named, and so you can see where they're all located, starting with Peekskill and Cortlandt and Croton and going down to Ossining and North Tarrytown and Irvington, Dobbs Ferry, and Hastings. And the principal reasons why people travel to these historic towns are the historic museum properties that are open to the public, and they're all identified on the map. And the train line is also identified on the map, and that's significant to me, and I'm sure to every town that has a station, which includes every town, because these towns are just minutes away from Midtown Manhattan.
This brochure which includes this map, is available to people, and we will give a telephone number that people can call.
Yes.
It's also, we'll do that in a few minutes,
Okay.
but it's also available in various locations. I know that I picked it up in a restaurant, and I know there are other places. Now, Citibank is tied in very strongly with you, and they have something very interesting called the Citibank Passport. That's not passport, but passport. Why the name?
Well, I think they say very clearly, step back in time along the mighty Hudson, and really they want, and it's for historic river towns. So
And what does this include?
And it is you can visit any of the locations listed on this passport, and you have to go to at least 3 places that are listed here to have at a Citibank branch to have it to be eligible to win a weekend in any of the historic river towns of Westchester.
Get stamps on them, actually?
Yes.
What a wonderful idea.
Yes, and it's a good tool to let people know, not just in our local area, but in New York City and other areas, what is available, and it gives them the incentive to make the trip.
I think it's very interesting that companies are involved. I know Citibank was instrumental in helping this brochure get made.
Absolutely.
And it really shows community interest, and it really shows that this isn't just towns, this isn't just attractions, this is everybody working together. That's what I like about this whole concept. Another thing that interests me about the historic river towns of Westchester is something called River Facts that you're doing. And how does that work?
Well, if people are looking for information on any of these sites or times or any of that information, they should call 914, naturally, 591-3216. Extension 020, and they will be fax the information that they need and be advised of what is available to them.
Yes, and I tried that, as a matter of fact, this morning, and what came back on the fax machine, almost, I say within a minute, maybe 30 seconds, came back this fax, which included the cover sheet and then 2 pages of events. And you do have a lot of events coming up, don't you? And you've had some events that have taken place already. I know you've got some interesting things coming up in the fall, and maybe you want to talk about Halloween and
Christmas. I think McKeldin could do a good job with that. They are doing a lot of work in that area.
Well, one thing the historic river towns have a claim on, in addition to what we've already talked about, is the fact that because of Washington Irving and the legend of Sleepy Hollow, that these towns are the Halloween capital of America, perhaps the world. And at Historic Hudson...
Does that have anything to do with the Headless Horseman?
It has a lot to do with the Headless Horseman. The exciting final scene in the the Legend of Sleepy Hollow is the Headless Horseman tossing the pumpkin at the hapless Ichabod Crane. And that is the vision for, or the image anyway, for what we call Legend Weekend, which is a celebration of Halloween, it's a celebration of history, it's a celebration of Washington Irving and literature, and just a good time at the properties of Historic Hudson Valley. And we have special programs in the daytime and special programs at in nighttime, and they are enormously popular. And the Sleepy Hollow Chamber of Commerce has been very active in promoting Halloween as a key reason why to visit Historic Hudson Valley and the historic river towns. And these are wonderful events. They're great for families. They're enormously popular. And this year, because they're so popular, we're going to be offering people an opportunity to purchase advance tickets. And children under 12 wearing a costume are free. So it's not a big deal from a financial point of view, but it is a big deal from a fun point of view. And it's a really safe, happy, but if you're 6 years old, scary way to celebrate Halloween.
Talking about purchasing tickets in advance, I know how popular Kikit is, and I assume that you're selling now for the season that's coming on. I know a lot of people are very disappointed.
A lot of people are disappointed, and the reason they're disappointed is we have a limit to the number of tickets we can sell for reasons I won't burden you with right now. But right now we are selling tickets for the 1996 season. And the astonishing thing about Kikit was not the huge amount of popularity it experienced in the first year, but the fact that popularity grew in the second year and is very clearly growing for the third year. In fact, we've already sold a third of our tickets for 1996. So I urge anybody who's interested in seeing Kikit starting next spring to be in touch with Historic Hudson Valley. And we are selling tickets to groups by phone and tickets to individuals by fax and mail. So if you call Historic Hudson Valley, and we're in the phone book, we will mail you the application for tickets, and they are as hot as they ever were.
No, I guess it's not a good suggestion on my part, like all businesses do, and when you can't handle the crowds, couldn't you get the Rockefellers to build another mansion?
We're working on that.
But I think you can see when we began talking that how important Kikit's been to the whole process, that it's growing, it's not diminishing in the attraction and the value that people see by coming here. So we must, just from the perspective of people coming to our downtown, be prepared for the visitors that are coming and want them to come back. If they can't see all of the other sites in that period of time, if they come in on the ferry from New York waterways, they just have an afternoon. We want and hope that we will entice them back to see Sunnyside, to see Phillipsburg Manor, and also to go to Peekskill and take their bike on the Metro North and use the trails to the north of us into Cortland, into that area. To go to Van Cortlandt Manor, gee, that's something I'd like to do on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. But we also are hoping to have and I believe they are doing this, that the hotels arrange for weekends for families.
Everybody's working together now.
Everybody's working together.
That's
it's been a wonderful experience.
One of the things that I want to be sure to do is to give the phone number for those people who do not have a fax machine. There is another number, and we're going to put all this up on the closing credits, but why don't we do that now? The phone number to call for information
is 914-271-2238.
Okay.
914-271-2238.
What's the reaction of the residents, the people in the communities? Tourism is a big industry. Is anything being done for the people who live in the communities? Of course, from an economic viewpoint, it could be a bonanza.
Well, there are two, as you said, I think it's the people who live there and the people who work and live there, or a combination of that. And it's been slowly growing. That people had trepidation, where are we going to put all these people? But when we told them that there had been over 200,000 people at Kikit the first year and no one had felt that at all, then they said, well, gee, maybe this isn't going to be a problem for us. I am going to be able to get downtown. I am going to find a parking space. Because with tourism, most people come in groups. But you also have the people who come and stay at the hotel for the weekend, or they come to Phillipsburg Manor because that's a starting point, so they have loads of parking. So I think overall, from the perspective of the merchants in my community, it's been a bonanza. Also for the restaurants, they are doing very, very well and are very happy and very pleased. And I believe that, I hope, I haven't heard anything to on the other side, that they're having a good experience when they come to our downtown. So I think economically it is working out well, and that our merchants are buying into it, and that our residents are buying into it too. As long as it doesn't interfere with the daily activity in their lives. And that has... So far, I haven't had any complaints.
Well, I think in any situation, when you have an influx of tourists, you always have the question of, it's a love-hate relationship in some cases. But there's something about this area, and I've lived here a long time, and I visit a lot, that seems to be able to absorb all of this. People are very gracious. People are very, very gracious. You do not feel as you walk down the streets in strange towns, as they are strange to me, as you walk down strange towns, that the people are unfriendly or resent you. And I think aside from the economic value, people are friendly in this area.
Also, I think the fact that we have reached out, I have Jerry Blood, a former trustee in the village of Tarrytown, has taken on the job of being the tourism person, and he has done a great job of reaching out to the community, to the residents, to have these tour guides and to get the people involved so that they have a connection. You see, if people feel that they have a connection, that they aren't being pushed away from this but are being drawn in, then they are much more comfortable with what's happening. They know what's happening. They know why the people are coming here, and they're finding that to be very interesting. So,
and the people that Eileen's talking about are volunteers.
Yes.
They're all volunteering, and there's more volunteers than we actually have jobs for. But the volunteers get on the trolleys and tell people about the town, and they get on the buses that are operated by Metro North and tell people about the sites and the towns that they're traveling through. It's a great thing. It's a great community project.
And I think that was important, that we have that outreach, even though initially we thought we had an enormous task, how we're going to reach people, but it was through telephone and one person telling another and saying, this is going to be fun. And thank goodness for Historic Hudson Valley, because even though these were all volunteers, they used their professionals to train our people that are interested. So it's a joint venture. And we all depend on each other to get things done and to accomplish our goals.
It's such a great area. The glue was always there, which is the Hudson, as far as I'm concerned. This is a concerted effort. This is everybody getting together, recognizing that you have something great here, that you have a great place to go, that you have interesting attractions, interesting shops, beautiful places to go, and it's all come together in this wonderful, wonderful concept. And I congratulate you for having done this, because it's really a great idea, and I'm glad for one that it happened. I want to say that one thing that I'm sorry has happened is that
Go ahead, make a wish.